Welcome back to On the Nose. Once again, I'm joined in studio by my good friend Thad Taylor. Thad, welcome back in.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, absolutely. Good day's racing. Whanganui, Ellerslie, Wanganui Cup Day, I think it was, wasn't it? Of course it was. So we had a couple of good venues, not the best day.
Tough old go for punters on the weekend.
Customers found it a little difficult, and we'll obviously touch on all the reasons why over the next 20 minutes.
Why don't we head up north first to Ellerslie? And, of course, it was Group 3 Great Northern Challenge Stakes Day. Of course, I had the Trevor and Coralie Eagle Memorial for the 3-year-olds as well. We'll start with race 1. And what is it? My racehorse, Incandescent, who, well, Massa must have known he was on the best horse because he settled back, albeit in a small field, but flew home and won with a bit of ease. And I see the bookies have reacted in the Karaka Millions futures market.
Yeah, $6 second favourite behind Diarmas now is Incandescent. And, yeah, look, super impressive debut. You know, I haven't seen Steve's figures around the win and all that sort of stuff, but just on the eye, to come out and do that on debut is still a heck of an effort regardless of what you're up against. And, look, it was break-even for Incandescent because in these 2-year-old races, often with the first starters and the like, you do see money spread where there's a few opinions around a few of them. One of them was First Light. For the Tiakau team, $4.80 into $3.70. Home Secretary had the race day experience for, I think it's Tony Pike, Home Secretary, and that was well backed out there at $5. Also finished second was a good run, or not bad. She's no saint, Michelle Bradley at $5, but was really all about one horse. It was break even in the final field. There was a My Racehorse boost.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Was that in the futures tab?
Exactly, under the futures tab. And you might see a few more boosts around My Racehorse runners going forward.
What was it out to? Was it at around $5?
$5.
$20. A nice way to start the day.
Good for most people. Good for the majority of customers. Absolutely take advantage of it. And look, it won well. Break even, but solidly backed. An impressive debut. Now $6 second favourite in a Karaka Million, as you mentioned.
Race 2 and Santa Catalina gets the job done for the Mackay team with Craig Grills aboard.
Craig Grills, beautiful. Look, there were sort of 3 favourites here, Paul. Santa Catalina, Box Moss, and the Prophet. And Box Moss and the Prophet both eased. Well, Santa Catalina held its ground in this marketplace. It was minus 20,000. Didn't really budge off the 380 mark, did Santa Catalina. Well, those other 2 favourites were getting quite easy, sort of $4 out to 480 and the like around Box Moss, who settled last. Sort of came out slowly. Yes, it has to find its feet, but I mean, it ended up being run at a pretty farcical-looking tempo to the eye with Moonlight Magic, who got it her own way in front but couldn't finish off. She was a bit of a mover. We're sort of waiting for that 3-year-old form around Moonlight Magic, and we just haven't seen it recently. There was money for it in terms of a market move, 8 to 550. So is she getting closer? Do we go next time? I'll leave that to you to decide. It was really all about Santa Catalina in the end, minus $20,000 a second of the day.
Race 3 in Lion Eyes with Taylor Mitchell aboard. Market missed this one?
It did. The connections did, and the stable knew, and these Chris Wood runners can be very well backed at times, as you know, as well as anyone. And look, when I came in on Saturday morning, Lying Eyes was a losing result, of relative significance, enough that I would say, what's this Lying Eyes, you know? But just as we got closer to start time, 13 became 15, became 18, became 21 as the money really came for the 2 favourites. I mean, Navy Ensign, boy, covered the world and, all but won it. 240 into 210. One of the more unlucky horses going around a field for connections there because he was very good. Navy Ensign obviously ran second, and Woman in Charge took most of the money in terms of a market move, and it was our worst result in the race. She was 6 into 350, so they really hammered it down to 2. So much so the 3rd favourite in Deprive, who was the 2nd favourite when we opened up, I got from $4.50 out to $6, but it wasn't the massive result it would look like on paper. 13 out to 23 for Lying Eyes. It was only plus 10,000 coming off the synthetic into a trial, into a win at Ellerslie. Good training performance, only plus 10.
Well done, Chris Wood. Yeah. Race 4 and Vegas Queen with Massa picking up his 2nd for the day at around the $8 mark for Kenny Ray.
Yeah, led them up. The market got this right to a degree. I mean, the first sort of 4 favourites were the first 4 home. I guess Vegas Queen was probably the best way for the TAB because we had Moss and Vader, who was $4.50 into $3. That was minus 90,000. We had Frost Fair was $4.80 into $3.60, and First Five was the only one that sort of held its ground against the movement against those two, Frost Fair and Moss Invader. That ran very well, First Five. I think there's going to be a win at short notice for First Five. We came from back, stormed home. But you could probably say that about Moss Invader and Frost Fair as well, because it was an absolute blanket across the line. They just couldn't quite get Vegas Queen. The other story in this market was the lack of money for our opening favourite. Now, we got that wrong with Super Photon, but 340 out to 650, over raced the whole way, checked at the 175, but it was out of contention when it was checked by First Five, who was storming past it at about the 200 metre mark. So jury's out, Super Photon, Vegas Queen. Look, Kenny's got big plans for it. That probably wouldn't shock too many, but she has raced in good company and acquitted herself well. She races on speed, but she was plus 35 with all the money for Moss Invader in particular.
Racing on speed. There's a bit of a theme for the day, I think, up at Ellerslie, and we probably find that theme down in the CD later on. But race 5, Just a Karen, who was handy to the speed, was just too good for them in the end.
Just in behind them. Look, got up to a distance for the first time, I think, this preparation, mile to the... And look, had been running good races, a little bit rocks and dimes, second, 0 in the form line, back to second, back to a 0. But got up over ground by Mongolian Khan. But look, it was one of those races where one of those staying sort of, was it a 65 or a maiden? Just a Karen.
65.
Yeah. So look, plenty to back. CS Squee, $7 into $5, second time in a row that's been a market move. It had its chance. You make what you like of that. Would you give it one more go next time, potentially? And then 2 runners at odds here come close to the screen viewers. One was Charlemagne, who ran very well, probably had its chance, but it was 21 into 11 and minus $100,000. So someone knew something. That was the Murdoch team there, Charlemagne. And I love the run also of Poetic Justice for Tony Pike, sneaking home from the back without much luck, 21 into 13. I think 2 to put in your black book, Charlemagne and Poetic Justice. Just a Karen was 13 out to 20. Back to 17 very late, but plus 35.
Race 6 was for the 3-year-olds, and Pulsatilla had a nice little divvy there, getting home. The favourite, Towering Vision, not quite.
Not quite. Fourth. He had its chance. I was a little bit unlucky. I think I had to sit wide for a portion of that race, the back half of it. It was 460 into 4. It was minus 100,000, a lot of money for it. You wouldn't be dropping it off that run at this stage. Towering Vision, Happy Zane, 450 out to $6, didn't feature. There was good money for To the Max, that was minus 40,000, didn't hovering around that 550 mark. Oratia Beauty ran a nice race for second. It was 750 out to 10, back to 850, so there was a little bit of a nibble late for that. But there was a little bit of a nibble for Pulsatilla as well. It's the one I haven't even mentioned. It was the winner. 13 out to 17. Back to 12. Now she has been added to a Prenom Oaks market. She'll be a horse you'd think that would target that. She looks a stayer in the making. She's a follow, but plus 35. She was at double figure odds all the way, and they did back a few there.
She showed a lovely turn of foot over that final furlong or so. On to race 7, though. Funny old market this. It was money, it looked like, for every single runner, just about. It was all over the place. In the end, Swainus Day gets home with Sam McNabb on board.
A remarkable drift, I'm going to call this, on Swainus Day. And we've mentioned these. Sometimes you're just like, what's happening? I got here on Saturday morning, and I was on the radio on the mail run with staff, and I think it was Pip Morris on Saturday. And I said, look, the marketplace has got it down to 2 horses here. Well and truly, there's 80% of the hold on Swain's Day and Hanky Alpha, who had both shortened, 3.8 into 3.30 and 6 into 5 respectively for those two. And then in the last 20 minutes, we saw Charm Rose and Have a Crack, come right into calculation. So much so, Charm Rose nearly started favourite, 6 into 460. And Have a Crack was 6 into 450, just back to 550 late. So they did back all 4. Look, Have a Crack was good. Hanky Alpha was flying. I don't know if it quite would have won, but...
Did get held up at a critical time.
rocketing home. So, look, none of them ran badly. Minus 40,000 for Swaney's Day. It's a horse that's well backed, got a reputation. And we have to mention Espidus. Yeah, exactly. See, the comments of Sean Clotworthy were telling when he was talking about Pulsatilla prior to her race. He said, I think Espidus could be probably the best horse I've ever trained, but it's obviously had his issues. He was 17 into 12 and ran a bottler. No one missed it, though, so everyone's going to know about it, but I'm just saying, Espidus, one to follow if you don't know. 17 into $12, certainly the stable have a high opinion.
Race 8 was the feature race of the day, the Group 3, a Great Northern Challenge Stakes, and your dominant favourite of the day just goes down in the shadow of the winning post, unfortunately for big EV punters.
Yeah.
But, man, take nothing away from Mary Shan.
No, and she's a quality mare. We all knew that going in. But she was taking on the reigning horse of the year, and, look, he was extremely well backed. El Vencedor. Well, look, Major, we all saw what Major did. So, like, softened up. And probably to the detriment of Major's chances, and that's probably a little fair bit's been said about that. There's not actually too much to speak of in this market, Paul, to be honest, because the only horse that really shortened was Usain Dorsey, 18 into 750. So it was a good push there. It didn't run badly. I think it might need just something a touch easier than that. It was third in an Easter last preparation. I think it's in for a good preparation, Usain Dorsey, but didn't quite feature. A Meaningful Star had no luck, but it was 650 out to 850 because of the strength behind the favourite. And similar to Mary Shan, she was 650 out to 850, just back to 750 right on close. Yeah, customers needed the big EV to be fair for all the multis and everything else, and he was very well back in the singles as well, but plus 105,000 for Mary Shan.
Final race of the day, and Masa Hasasumi had a day of it, to be fair. Rise Companions, which I think was BP's bet of the day on the leg up.
Yeah, it was. It was well done to BP. He's never out of the winner's circle too long as one Brendan Popperwell. Yeah, a funny market. Golden Wings came out of it. Sometimes you see drifts and you say, that like the drift on the favourite Super Photon. That sort of drift, and you say, oh, gee, this is a bit concerning. Troubling. This one I put in a slightly different barrel because we had a 30% deduction with a couple of horses coming out, but in particular Golden Wings. And then some good hard early money around Rise Companions, which knocked it in probably too far. And then this was more of a correction potentially in the market rather than a drift. Sometimes very difficult to tell the difference, but it just got back out to 550 when it was as short as 360. It probably never deserved to be that short, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Just one of those tricky ones. Ended up being plus 20,000 Rise Companions because Bella Vista for Stephen Marsh went from $8 to $4. That was minus 140,000. Inside Out was good again. Deserves a win for the Weatherlies. And Scouser
flew home.
Oh, jeez. He was a market mover at odds, and I say given none, but he was out the back and right out the back, and gee, he was storming home, Scouser. So, again, one for the Black Book. But I think Rise Companions is certainly above average. The early hard money knocked that price almost into shape too well for customers, which meant it was plus 20,000.
Overall for the day at Ellerslie then?
Plus 190 roughly, Paul, at Ellerslie. So, yeah, not too many highlights for customers. Santa Catalina was one. Swaney's Day was the other.
Down to Wanganui now, where it was Wanganui Cup Day, and, of course, the O'Leary's Fillies race as well. We'll start at race 1, La Prima Dama, for a northern visitor with, who was it, the Roger James Robert Wellwood team, bringing her down and get near the front, and you're a good chance of winning last Saturday at Wanganui.
It looked a bit like that, didn't it? Look, 4 horses right in the market, and they're all well backed. Now, I think this was a bonus back race as well. So people were they were backing them all here. In fact, even Annabelle was 12 into 7 and Smackers was 15 into 950. So it's unusual to win on a northern visitor, potentially if it's right in the market. We did, though, because Night Owl was the best back runner. Subsonic was good. It'll be improved again. And We Own a Runaway was well backed. Yeah, Annabelle 12 into 7, Smackers 15 into 950. They were moves in the market. Plus 25, La Prima Dama in the first of the day.
Race 2 and Croix de Guerre.
Yeah, very good.
Was that right?
Oh, sounds
For
good
John
to me.
O'Benner?
A few people were having trouble with it on Saturday. Maybe me included.
I can understand.
Croix de Gear, yeah. I was thinking Sailor Gear, but obviously the dummy Myers horse that won the Derby was Sailor Gear.
Indeed,
spelled
yes.
the same way. The gear part. Carry on.
Just got home in the end.
It did. 6 into 5, break even. They pretty much nailed this in terms of the marketplace. They backed the 1, the 2, and the 3. Julianus was 7 into 460 for the locals. That didn't feature, but well supported. Carter John, 5 into $3.90. That was impressive. So you'd be marking Carter John down. As I said, Croix de Guer, 6 into 5. That was a break-even result. Undisputed, which is a northerner they did back, but got the drifts here, 3 out to 4s. That was minus 40,000. So they were all around a break-even result in the second Croix de Guer.
Race 3, Platinum Goddess for Lisa Ladder, another one that was up on the speed.
Yeah, 9 out to 14, plus 20,000 for Platinum Goddess. As the stablemate Chelsea Rose of the winner went from 9.15 to 6. So just one of those unfortunate ones. And the top 4, again, they're all around it because Snowflake, gee, deserves one, but isn't going to get one. 5 into 260 was minus 60,000. So that was the big push of the race. And Vicky's Margot was in the money again. Second time in a row, it's been a move to stick with, I'd say, 9 into 7. So look, Chelsea Rose, Snowflake, and Vicky's Margot were all in the money, but it was Platinum Goddess, unfortunately for customers, 9 out to 14, which won plus 20.
Race 4, and the favourite gets home, Rebecca with Jonathan Riddell aboard, and another one that was up handy on the spec. There's a theme here, Thad. There's a theme.
Yeah, you're not bad. Look, Rebecca was 390, out to 5, back to 440 late. All the money came for early St Kilda for Cody Cole. That was 7 into 460, and then back out to around 650, but that was by that stage minus 50,000. And then Turn It Up was the big move of the race. Royden Burgess and Aaron Leighton, 9 into $4.20. That was also about minus 50,000. If Wire Rope wasn't ready, it was 440 out to 950. You'd want to be on when it is. Good run because they all backed the stablemate, Rip and all, and Wire Rope was friendless and ran very well. And Tears of Victory had no luck. I think it was a bit slow away and got trapped wide from a majority, 21 into 14 for Tears of Victory. But Rebecca was surprisingly plus 50,000 because of St Kilda, Turn It Up, among others in that fourth of the day.
Race 5 and Polloy with Samantha Collett riding at around the $5-6 mark.
Yeah, 650 on opening into 480, so a good push. But it was plus 20,000, mainly down to Casino, who was, 310 out to 320, certainly no drift. It was minus 50,000, so Mint Ploy was a winning result. Other horses to mention here, Only the Lonely resumed. We didn't see much money for it at all, and it ran really well. So one to mark down, Only the Lonely, going forward.
That was in the Waikato stud, was it?
Correct.
Right,
Yep, you're right about that. So Only the Lonely's a follow, and Leinster raced keenly and was 21 into 12. Another one that you might be just marking down, Leinster there. I think it wears the Lennox colours, doesn't it? But you're plus 20,000 ploy. Good win, but the money for Casino meant it was a winning result for us.
Race 6, it was for the fillies and Circus Dancer, and I know you don't mind a Circus Maximus at any old money. And another one that was up on the speed.
Yeah. 10 out to 26. 10 out to 26. This market, I mean, it was a bit of umming and ahhing early in terms of them backing a few at odds, particularly the likes of Tellum, who was 15 into 9, back to 12, minus 19. Hey, Dana was well back. That was a losing result as well. But then in the last 20 minutes, they just all came for the two favourites. War Princess was 310 into 235. It was minus 40,000, and Lou Beck was well backed as well, late 360 into $3, which means the likes of Talon drifted late from 9 to 12. Hey Dana went from 10 to 12. And then the Circus Dancer, the winner was 10 out to 26, plus 65. War Princess will lose no admirers.
No, she was a slightly unlucky.
Slightly unlucky, yeah, sort of, exactly. What bit of her own Western. She pulled a little bit when they tried to restrain her and got a bit of a late split up the inside and ran close. So, yeah, she's lost. No, as I say, she's going to win more races, but just wasn't her day on the day. Circus Dancer plus 65.
Race 7 and Uncle Arch. And it looks like Erin Leighton picked up a few trends for the day and decided I've got to be handy to the lead. And although she was 3 wide for almost the whole trip, was just too good for them in the end.
Yeah, great friend of the show, Erin Leighton, too. Yeah, she's done a lot of work for trackside. But she's back in the winner's circle. And yeah, Uncle Arch, as you say, did it the hard way, but did it well. And there was money for him just late, 13 into $9. They were looking for a few things to back other than Zormella, which is where all the money was. 4 into 270, just back to 3 late where they tickled up a couple of others. Zormella was minus 120,000. The ones they were tickling up late, one was Uncle Arch, which we mentioned. Octave was 19 into 15, didn't run too badly. There's obviously the fair opinion around Coulthard from the stable. It was 750 into 6, but yeah, look, Zormella was probably the vencedor of Whanganui on Saturday. It was carrying the hopes of most of our customers, but it was Uncle Arch plus 100K the 7th.
Well, favourite punter's got a wee bit back in the Wanganui Cup with Schwaby. El Sharok, what have you done here? Sherbway, yes.
Don't you know you're African? No, sorry. Look,
I'm from up north.
7 into 460. So well back. This market was always going to be moving around. Steve said as much on the leg up on Friday with how the track was coming back, and I think they'd set up for a bit of a wetter track, and some horses were going to drift, some were going to shorten. Shebway was one of them. Now favourite for a Wellington Cup, I think. Yeah, good friend Scotty Hunt was suitably impressed. But it won really well. Looks a real star on the rise, and we know Alan Sherrick has a bit of a pedigree when it comes to taking out the Wellington Cup. Other horses to mention that shortened. The Odyssey, very good under the big weight, 10 into 9 into 650. Model, 15 into 950. No, got no luck. Old Courtney Barnes just trapped 3 wide the entirety. So forgive Doddle. Sailor Jack, 950 into 550, and Royal Flower was 13 into 650. So they backed a few in the cup, and it was a race where they were always going to back a few. So even though Tashebwe was 7 into 460, and very unusual to get away break even from an Alan Sherrick winner.
Final race of the day, and one of the few, if not the only runner to come from midfield or just back of midfield, Platinum Tish,
yeah.
With Erin Leighton.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Well done. Geez, it's the second time they've done this. It's gone back to back now, Platinum Tish. And they made a fair bit at Waipuketau when the market shortened late. Well, it shortened again, 31 into 12. I did say on the TV.
Didn't take no.
Well, no. Well, it was quite late, and I say it sort of happened without anyone noticing, sort of in one foul swoop, the move, and then by that stage it was everyone had sort of missed it, and there was stacks to back in the last as well. It was one of those races. I mean, ATM, Legacy, latest model, Leave a Light On, Pro Boy. So again, it was just sort of stuck under the guard of most, but yeah, as I said, I did say on the TV, if you've had one of those days, here's your one in the last, Platinum Tish. And yeah, impressive win, but it was plus 50,000 in the last. As I say, latest model was the worst way for the TAB, and ATM wasn't far behind. It was 4 into 290 ATM. That's the second time that's been a big market mover.
Sounds like it was a tough day for punters down at Wanganui as well.
Yeah, it was, Paul. Plus 320 odd at Wanganui. So yeah, it's been a few days lately where our customers have been well on side with themselves, but just one of those tough ones last Saturday.
Right, that's it for another week with us, Thad. We'll be back again next week where we'll have a look at where are we? We're Pukekohe for Concord Stakes and Bone Crusher Stakes Day. And then, of course, we've got the Group 1 with Faster Classic Day down here at Trentham.
You're heading out to Trentham, are you?
I might pop out there, yeah.
It should be a good day. I'm looking forward to it.
It should be, yes. Okay, thanks to Thad for once again giving us all the good oil.